For 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You said that your safe space is to follow the rules. Were the rules followed in the Hillary Clinton investigation?
That's something that's being investigated right now by the outside inspector general. I'm very much looking forward to seeing what he finds on that.
Yeah, you and me both. Did she get special treatment?
Well, again, I think when you ask about special treatment, I interpret that, and I may not be correctly interpreting your question, in which case I'm sure you'll tell me. But I take that to be a question about whether or not the handling of that investigation was tainted in some way by improper political considerations, and that's exactly what the Inspector General is going to tell us.
So I sent you a letter asking you to tell us whether or not Hillary Clinton got special treatment. And your office's answer was that you would provide it in a classified setting. Why don't the American people deserve to know whether or not Hillary Clinton got special treatment?
Well, I think the reference to classified information went to the other part of your letter, which has to do with the dossier issues.
Let's talk about that.
But on the first part, on this question of special treatment, what I would tell you, because I think this was one of the questions in your letter, is that we do not have at the FBI some double standard of special, not special. There's no formal term special. Special, as best I can tell.
So it's an informal term.
It's an informal term.
Yeah, you could see how that informally designating something as special signifies a double standard, right?
I can see how the term special could be misunderstood. I will tell you that
well, let me go to the dossier because I have limited time, Mr. Director. So on the dossier, did the FBI pay for a dossier on the president?
Questions about the dossier are something that are better taken up in separate settings.
Look, don't the American people deserve to know whether taxpayer money was used to buy a dossier that was curated by a political party to discredit the President of the United States before and after his election?
As I said, I understand the basis for the question, but I would tell you that questions on that subject are something that we're having lots and lots of interaction with multiple congressional committees and their staffs on in a classified setting.
Did Bob Mueller recruit people to his probe that had a bias against the president?
I can't speak to how Director Mueller staffed or recruited for his team.
It seems like a hell of a coincidence. I mean, we got Mr. Strzok, who's clearly got a bias. That's why he was reassigned. He's at the center of a lot of the development of facts. You got Mr. Weissman, who's praising people who are defying the president. And then you have law firms that are overwhelmingly donating to the Obama campaign and the Clinton campaign that serve up the humans that are in that investigation. So you can't say with certainty that bias against the president wasn't a factor that brought people into the Mueller probe, can you?
As I said, I'm not going to weigh in on Director Mueller's staffing of his own team.
So we don't know whether Mr. Mueller recruited people as a consequence of their bias. We don't know whether Hillary Clinton was treated as special. We don't know whether the FBI used taxpayer money to go and buy a dossier to discredit the president. Now, what we do know is that you said you're an ask questions first, then act kind of guy, which I believe and appreciate. So you would never, as an ask questions first kind of guy, draft an exoneration statement before interviewing key witnesses in an investigation, would you?
Well, I certainly wouldn't finalize one. I will say, as I said, I can't remember if it was to Congressman Gowdy or one of your other colleagues, in my experience in an investigation, you do start to form a view, but keywords being start.
Do you start drafting an exoneration statement before conducting witness interviews?
We sometimes would draft reports before the investigation was
Exonerating someone?
Exonerating or incriminating. But in all cases, as Congressman Gowdy alluded to in his own comments, in my view, you would not make any kind of final decision about anything, exoneration or otherwise, until you'd had all the evidence.
So we've got an exoneration statement drafted before the interviews are done. You've got a meeting on the tarmac with the spouse of someone that is being investigated. You've got the former FBI director holding a press conference to make a determination about the outcome of an investigation. You've got James Clapper, when he's confronted with information from an intelligence inspector general saying that he doesn't want anything to be a headache for the Clinton campaign. We don't know if these taxpayer funds were used for opposition research. My question is, what's it going to take? Why do we have to wait for an inspector general? If I walk outside and it's raining, I don't need an inspector general to tell me to get an umbrella. With these highly aberrational circumstances, which almost anyone would acknowledge depart from the standard procedures of the FBI, Why wait for an inspector general? Why not do what we know to be right and institute reforms that brings transparency and oversight and redundancy so that in the future you don't have some egomaniac, rogue FBI director that departs from the normal procedures so that outcomes can be predetermined before the investigation?
As I said before, and as Congressman Gowdy said in his question to me, I think it's appropriate that we wait in this instance until we have all the facts, until the last witness, as he said, has been interviewed, and then, based on the facts that we have, take appropriate action. I completely understand the reasons you're asking the question. I sympathize with them. I do not think
The time of the gentleman has expired. The director may answer the question.
Your concerns, which I completely sympathize with and understand, go to the question of whether or not proper process, investigative and otherwise, were followed. And I think the best way to get to the bottom of that is not to bypass proper investigative process now into those things. We should wait, let the fact-finding finish. The Inspector General, as somebody who's seen the Inspector General in action from the Justice Department side, as a line prosecutor, as a defense attorney, is not a rubber stamp. This is somebody who puts people through their paces, and I would look forward to hearing what it is he finds. This is not the FBI investigating itself. It's an outside watchdog, and I look forward to seeing what that report is. And then at that time, that's when we should look at what appropriate steps should be taken in response.